Captain Sarah Chen stood before the semicircular assembly of the Galactic Council, her weathered hands clasped behind her back. The representatives of 47 species observed her with varying degrees of curiosity, skepticism, and what she recognized as poorly concealed condescension. The Zephyrians' crystalline forms chimed softly, and what she'd learned was their equivalent of dismissive laughter. The Carathian delegate's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of impatience. "Captain Chen," the High Arbiter's voice resonated through the chamber's translation matrix. "Your species has been part of the Galactic Alliance for precisely 1 standard cycle. In that time you have filed 17 formal complaints about our military protocols, rejected our combat training programs, and now you request to establish your own military academy. The Council wishes to understand why humanity believes it can improve upon strategies refined over 10,000 years. Sarah's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. She'd expected this resistance. The galaxy's established powers had grown comfortable in their superiority, their neat, orderly approach to warfare that resembled elaborate chess matches more than the brutal reality humans knew. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice carrying the quiet authority that had seen her through 3 colonial wars. "I don't claim we can improve your strategies. I'm here to explain why we won't be using them." A ripple of what the translation matrix rendered as various forms of surprise and offense swept through the assembly. The Helian ambassador's tentacles writhed in obvious agitation. "Your military academies produce excellent tacticians," Sarah continued, ignoring the disruption. "Beings who can calculate optimal troop movements, analyze terrain advantages, and execute precisely coordinated strikes. You train soldiers who follow orders, think strategically, and minimize casualties through superior planning." She paused, scanning the alien faces around her. "We don't train soldiers. We raise wolves." The High Arbiter's towering form leaned forward. "Elaborate, Captain." Sarah's smile was predatory. 3 months ago, the Vorthak Empire launched their expansion into the Kepler sector. Your combined fleets engaged them in the traditional manner: formal battle lines, calculated exchanges, requests for honorable surrender when victory was mathematically certain. The Vorthak, being a warrior culture, appreciated this approach. The conflict was expected to conclude in 18 months with minimal civilian casualties and territorial exchanges negotiated through proper diplomatic channels. She gestured to the holographic display that materialized beside her. Instead, it ended in 6 weeks. The moment my species was authorized to participate, we sent 1 ship, the ESS Fenrir, with a crew of 200 humans. The display showed tactical readouts that made several delegates shift uncomfortably. Vorthak supply lines severed, command vessels crippled through surgical strikes on life support systems, coordinated psychological warfare that left the enemy fleet paralyzed by fear rather than tactical disadvantage. The Vorthak Empire formally surrendered to humanity specifically, not to the Alliance, Sarah said. They requested that humans alone handle their prisoner exchanges because, and I quote their commander, "At least the wolves understand that war is about breaking your enemy's will to fight, not playing games." The Carathian delegate's voice crackled through the translator. "These tactics violate 17 codes of civilized warfare." "Exactly." Sarah's response was immediate. "You fight wars like scientists conducting experiments. We fight wars like apex predators defending their territory. You calculate acceptable losses. We calculate how to make the enemy suffer so completely that they never want to face us again." She activated another section of the display. "Every human military academy teaches the same fundamental principle. The enemy is not your opponent in a game. They're the thing trying to kill your family. We don't teach our warriors to be honorable. We teach them to win, to survive, and to make sure their brothers and sisters come home." The chamber fell silent except for the ambient hum of life support systems. "Your academies teach warfare as an art," Sarah continued. "Chess on a galactic scale, with rules and conventions that all civilized species respect. But war isn't art, it's evolution. And humanity evolved as persistence hunters. We don't outrun our prey. We don't overpower it. We exhaust it. We follow it until it collapses from fear and fatigue." The High Arbiter's massive head tilted. "And you believe this philosophy serves the Alliance's interests?" "I know it does." Sarah's voice hardened. "The Vorthak Empire had been expanding for 3 centuries. Your conventional forces would have contained them eventually, at the cost of dozens of worlds and millions of lives. We ended their expansion permanently in 6 weeks, with casualties numbering in the hundreds rather than millions. She deactivated the display and faced the assembly directly. The hegemony has been watching our conflict with the Vorthak. Their scout ships have been probing Alliance borders ever since. But they're not probing sectors defended by your fleets, they're specifically avoiding any system where human ships patrol. A moment of consideration passed through the chamber like a wave. You want to know why humanity needs its own military academy? Sarah asked. Because we don't teach warfare, we teach war. We don't create tacticians, we create predators who understand that the only rule that matters is coming home alive. She straightened her uniform. The galaxy has been at peace for so long that most species have forgotten what war actually means. Humanity never forgot. We're not asking permission to build an academy. We're informing you that we're building one and offering to share what we learn with allies who can stomach the truth. The High Arbiter was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a note Sarah hadn't heard before: respect. The Council will consider your proposal, Captain Chen. Sarah nodded once sharply. Thank you, Honored Arbiter. But don't take too long deciding. Intelligence suggests the hegemony is massing fleets in the Outer Rim. When they come, you'll want wolves on your side. As she turned to leave, Sarah heard the Vorthak observer's rough voice through the translator. The human speaks truth. War is not a game for the civilized. It is the domain of those willing to become monsters to protect what they love. The chamber remained silent long after the human captain's footsteps faded in the corridor.